My name's Chris Sharman. I've been in the sector now 27 years. I started off at local leisure centres when I was 15, and I never left. And I kept going and kept going. My last employed role was 12 years ago. I was at, for those that might remember it, Sporter, the health club chain. We had 55 clubs at that stage, and I oversaw family activities, fitness, Group X, rackets and swimming across those sites. We sold out to Virgin Active when I was on the operating board, and I used that as an opportunity to set up a consultancy business specialising in supporting the sector, primarily a lot in children's fitness and children's activities, but more recently and a lot more on the brand and marketing of what we do in our sector. So Topodium Group is an ecosystem business, an agency if you want to call it that, which supports people like you guys with different products and services around marketing, product training, consultancy, and tech innovation as well. Okay, I'm really going to be competing against the microphone, aren't I? Right. So, this is a snapshot of a one-day kind of 4-6 hour course that we do, going into a lot more detail on 3 kind of core areas. Understanding your core of your business, so who you are and why you're in business, ultimately. We then talk about your audience. Who are you trying to reach? Who's your ideal customer? And then we also do a whole section on your market. So what sets your business apart? Why you? Why would someone come to your facility or engage with your brand versus anyone else that they could connect with? Okay. And then at the end of this kind of session, we're going to talk a little bit around actions for you as well. So we're going to work on 3 key elements of those 3 sections. So rather than doing a whole hour on each one, we're going to break down to one kind of key focus with hopefully some takeaways and some ideas for you to kind of work with. We'll look at core words, why, where are your audience? We'll look at why you, and then we'll look at some actions with some takeaways that hopefully will just trigger some ideas that might make you think around what you do, tweak what you do, start doing something different. Okay, if you can take away 2 or 3 what I would call golden nuggets, then I've succeeded over the course of the next kind of 45 minutes. Thank you for joining us. We've just literally started. Okay, so to start off with, on the back of your pad, there's a whole page, a blank page. What I'd like you to have a think on, I'm going to give you 60 seconds. There's a lot of misconceptions around branding and marketing. There's a lot of confusion around actually they're the same thing. Branding in a lot of ways doesn't really have a definition as such. It's to put a stamp on something. Ultimately, if you look at the dictionary definition of branding, in your own words, sentence or 2, I'd like you just to scribble down what you think is the difference between branding and marketing. Okay, so timer's up there. You've got 60 seconds. At the end of it, I might ask for a few different views from different people, but we'll just have a look and think around what you think marketing and branding is, the differences between the 2.
Can we try and stick a bit more at the central stage?
Yes, I can.
Try and get a shot of you.
Yeah, of course, no problem. Does anyone need something to scribble on? I have a spare one. No, we're good. You do? There we go. No problem at all.
Thank you.
Okay, last few seconds. I am the cameraman's worst nightmare because I just keep moving around as well. I've already been told to stand in the middle. Okay, anyone like to volunteer their definition or their thoughts on the difference between branding and marketing? Yes, please do.
I put branding, how you look, and marketing, how others see you.
Not bad. Yeah, I would say there's no right or wrong to this either, by the way, but definitely that's pretty good in terms of how I would explain it. Anyone else?
Brand is what you're about.
Brand is what you're about. Yeah.
Marketing is how you explain and sell.
Okay. The explanation of what you're doing or what you do. Yeah, great. Who you are, yeah. Yes, very similar. Okay, I'm going to put a couple of things up. Branding is who you are. I think you all got that, or most of you kind of who you are, the story. Marketing is how you then sell your products and services. So I would look at it as tactics. So you've got who you are, the story, and then you've got the tactics to get that story out to people, which could be social media, could be your website, could be any number of different tools or tactics, okay? If anyone does want the presentation deck, rather than scribbling everything down, just drop me an email and I will happily send it to you, all right? Your brand is the connection between you and your customers, okay? When people interact with your business, it's your branding that can make this experience unique and exciting, okay? You're visually bringing what you are to life, okay? And then Jeff Bezos famously said this, that your brand is what people say about you when you're not in the room, okay? It's the true feelings they have around you, okay? And you're gonna want them to say X, Y, and Z. Your messaging and your tactics, the what you're doing, and how you're delivering, ultimately your end product, your delivery, is what gets you to a position where people talk positively behind your back, okay? So brand versus marketing. A lot of what we're talking about today is branding, but there is an intrinsic connection between the two. And actually without branding, your marketing is gonna be a little bit scattergun because it doesn't necessarily have a focus, okay? So, your brand is part of all your customer interactions. Everything you do, whether that's a class that someone's delivering, whether that's a reception desk that someone's walking up to, whether that's a website that someone's viewing, whether that's a social media post someone is engaging with, okay? That is your brand. This means it's super important to understand who your audience is, who your ideal audience is, or your perfect customer. Once you've established who your perfect customer is, it's really important to know where they are. And I'll use this phrase, where do they hang out? Where do they hang out online? What social channels do they use? What groups on social media do they connect with? What websites do they view? And also, where are they offline? Where do they congregate? They always go to the community center. They always have fish and chips from this location. Whatever that might be, where do you find them? Where do they hang out? Once you've established that and you've identified that audience, you can craft the brand message to that perfect client. Okay, so branding is about really understanding those things. Okay, we're going to talk 3 words. This is one part of a much bigger workshop that we do on our full day around who you are. I'm going to use Coca-Cola as an example. There are some words that very famously they are known for. They are consistent in their messaging around adverts and campaigns, all around joy and cheerful. You know, they are what Coca-Cola wants to be known for. What I'd like you to do now, for those that have just arrived, in your book, you've got a little page or on a bit of paper, whatever you need to do. Into 4, I'd like you to, in that top section, write down any 3 to 7 words that you want to be known for. If they're the words that Coca-Cola are famous for, or they want to be famous for, or want to be known for, what are your words for your business? Okay? So, same again, we've got 60 seconds, throw down some words. Based on what Jeff Bezos was saying, if someone was talking about you behind your back, what words would you like them to be using to connect to your brand or your business? It's not always as easy as you think, because you end up with a load of words, and it's bringing those down to that 3 to 7 kind of core words. Okay, anyone like to shout one of their words? Don't mind who it is. Innovative. Innovative, okay? I'm just going to put a few down. Anyone else? Trusted and respected. Yeah, nice. Yeah, anyone else? Supportive. Social, nice, thank you. Committed, thank you. Anyway, friendly. Okay, great words, but they're all unique to you. Okay, that's part of your brand message, part of your brand story. Okay, so when we do a workshop on this, we actually strip that back a little bit more to actually your brand values and that brand mission, vision, and values that connect to this. But these are just 3 simple, quick exercises, core words that just help you connect. What do you want someone to talk about? What do you want someone to say when they're talking about you? All right. The next thing is your audience. We talked about it very quickly early on in terms of knowing your audience and where to find them is going to be key to building a successful brand. Okay. We talked about where do they hang out. So in one of your other boxes now where you've got audience, I'd like you to write down where you think your ideal customer is. Online or offline or combination of both. Where are you going to find them? Where do they hang out? Do they use Facebook or do they use Instagram? Do they not use either? Where are you going to go and find these people? Where do they sit? Where do they resonate? Okay, finishing off, but can anyone give me an example that they've written down of where one of their ideal audiences is offline? So let's focus on offline. Where might someone from your ideal kind of customer base be offline? Very local, so within a geographic location, within a 5-mile drive or something along those lines. Okay, anyone else on an offline? In a cafe, local cafe, you think? In a local sports club, playing sport, doing something like that? In a school. Okay, perfect. What about online? Where do some of your ideal customers live online? Instagram, Facebook. On a website, on a particular website? Ideally yours. Okay, what about a brand website they might connect with? Are they a Gymshark purchaser? Are they someone that visits a particular branded, they go to a particular online store? So don't always think social, think websites they might visit, because that might really help you when you're producing tactics on where to position your brand, where to align your brand to. Okay, has that got you thinking just a little bit? Yeah, so you've got the words that sum you up and the audience in terms of where they are, starting to create this ideal customer in your world. Ultimately, the entire essence of building your brand is all about making yourself different, making you stand out. I think I spoke to one person around, there is 3 or 4 locations they're competing with. So what makes your story better than someone else's? What makes your perfect customer connect with your brand versus the gym down the road or the health and fitness club 5 miles away? And it's the same with products. What makes someone buy Gymshark versus Puma or Adidas or Nike or whatever that might be? There is typically an allegiance with the brand. And that's really what we're trying to establish here, is building that brand. Okay, so what makes you different? So the final box now is you've got this ideal customer where these are the words that they would be using to describe you. You've established where they are, both online and offline. And now what we want to look at is, why would they choose you? What is it about what you do, your brand, your business, that makes you stand out and gives you a reason? That could be great customer service. That could be price point. That could be a particular product or service that no one else offers. What is it that makes your brand, your business unique? I've got some really focused heads here. Everyone thought they were coming here for an easy ride, and everyone's like it's like they're at school now, isn't it? Last few seconds. Got people properly scratching their heads now. Okay, would anyone like to offer up a unique selling point, something that makes you different, and a reason why maybe if I'm your perfect customer, would come to you, your business? Yes, please.
I didn't think this mattered a lot when we first opened our gym, but we've hired cleaners now, and since that, lots of people commented, oh, it's always clean, it's always fresh. I didn't think that was like a massive thing, but it is. So now the response I'm getting back is
Okay.
a huge area.
So I'd come to your gym because it's one of the cleanest, and as an ideal client, customer, that's important to me.
Yeah, not as an obvious thing, but as one I miss.
Yeah. Nice, great, yes. Please do, yeah.
It's not necessarily about being cleaner. It's the fact people can see cleaners makes such a difference to perception of
Honestly,
cleanliness.
the response we got back after hiring cleaners in hours was ridiculous, and I've never thought it would matter.
Yeah, it's sometimes perception, isn't it? You know, I see someone, it might not be the cleanest thing, but the fact I'm seeing someone mopping, tidying, whatever that might be, I perceive it to be clean, which is really important. Good point, thank you. Anyone else, a unique selling point for their facility or their brand? Family-based. Okay, give me a bit more than that.
We cater for the family from the child to the fathers, mothers.
Okay.
So the whole family.
So your product offering covers all the age groups. So therefore, others that might be a pure gym that doesn't do kids activities, not ideal client base because I couldn't do what I wanted to do with my family there.
Basically, you bring your child and do something else whilst you're in the gym and do the workouts and
Perfect. So a family offering that covers all different age groups. Perfect. Great. Rewarded for loyalty. Talk me through that.
This coach system we're using to manage memberships rewards you with points every time you take
Okay.
an action around the gym. So it could be attending a class, it could be reviewing it on Facebook, it could be purchasing a product and you'll get rewarded and interacting with us by.
Great. So a reward and recognition program that maybe I couldn't get somewhere else. It's the reason why Costa do their loyalty card, because a lot of people don't. And actually they were one of the first that did it. And now everyone's kind of following because they realized that was unique. Now we need to copy. So you're leading the way in that respect. Anyone else? Was that just a scratch of the head or was the hand going up? A scratch of the head. That was definitely a hand, not a scratch of the head, that one.
And this one's really dangerous. Team members.
Team members, okay.
The USB.
Yeah.
They bring something special, like connect, etc. But then that is a dangerous thing. USBs around team members are great.
Yeah.
But you need to be very protected.
And I agree. So looking at that in particular, the staff that bring your product to life can be a massive USP. But as you say, they're also a massive risk, because the reason I come is because I'm coming to your class because it's amazing and I love being PT'd by you in that gym. As soon as you go, what's the other hook keeping me in that facility? Oh, one from a colleague of mine. There we go. Yes. Yeah. So I think we talked here maybe around storytelling, and actually I think there's two organisations at the front that are funding at the moment to build their facility, and actually the story around the person behind the brand is sometimes really powerful. Very, very much so with independent small businesses, those that have got a story to tell sometimes. And I've seen a lot of organisations that kind of, I don't want to be. It's not about me. It's not about me. It's about the brand name. Well, actually, the reason I might be coming is because of your story, is because you've achieved something, is because I am connecting with you as an individual. So if you are a business owner, or you have a business owner that actually has a credibility in terms of their standing, their position, use it. And So Ryan is my head of brand and marketing. So he's sitting there writing notes probably on how I'm talking about branding. But he's always telling me that I need to be more front and center because of the story that I've got and the history that I've got. And actually, I almost like to let the brand do the talking, but actually I am part of the brand. And sometimes you have to own that as a business owner. And going back to staff, they are part of your brand. Tell their story. If they are connected intrinsically with what you do, they have stories that really connect the dots with your perfect customer as well. Thank you, Ryan. Nice question. Anyone else? Any USPs? Yeah, no. What, one and then two. Go on.
I've got an idea our member journey, so differentiates from everywhere else. So what our induction process and engagement and everything else within our facility does.
Yeah.
And therefore helps retain the members as well. So what we've set as our bespoke journey to those members.
Perfect. Great. And then that story and how you put that across then leads into the marketing tactics of how you take that journey and how you position it to that perfect client. So they go, I want that. I'm buying into that. Okay, which is where we talked earlier around bridging the gap between branding, the story, the positioning piece, and the tactics that take that and make me want to connect with it. Yes, you had a...
Stop making everybody feel successful.
Okay, so talk me through that. How would I connect with that?
So similar to what I just said about the consultation, the member journey, so we're getting them in six that our facility we run a range of different internal and external groups events. So we sort of train everybody through that and take them along, even if they're not the fittest person in the world, like that would make them included.
Great. So that word inclusion used a couple of times in that explanation is really that kind of maybe one of your core words that connects the dots between your USP and what you want to be known for. So go on, yes. You're not scratching your head this time, are you? No, that was a definitive hand in the air.
So I think the question is quite difficult to answer. I think if it's why would I stay a customer of yours, I'd be able to answer it really easily. And what we've started doing on our social media channels is talking about why we do what we do rather than what and how. But so our unique selling point is we do a 200% money back guarantee. So if you sold within your initial 28 days, we'll give you your money back plus more. So it's just constantly trying to find ways to get people through the door to show them that loyalty and to build that trust. So
It's interesting because I think that 200% money back guarantee is as much a marketing tactic as it is also a USP, because probably no one else is offering that kind of money back, double your money back guarantee.
just trying to find ways to show action cures fear. So how can we get them in to build that trust, and that looks really well for us. We've never had to give anybody a free fee.
I was going to ask that question next. How long have you been doing it and how many people asked for it?
No one yet. So.
There we go. Good. Okay, so what I'm trying to establish over the course of what we've just done with those three exercises is almost like a golden thread that kind of ties all those elements together. So from a branding perspective, you need all of those three to kind of connect. They need to be connected and seamless in terms of how they tell the story and how they position your brand. So from your core words to how they resonate with the audience that you are trying to get in through your business, that then also tells the uniqueness of what you do, or just the offering, of what you do. Okay, so they're those kind of core things. So we are halfway through. The last part, I'm going to try and again make sure that you've got some takeaways to go through, and I'm going to show some outputs that we would end up with, or we would hope you would end up with in terms of your brand positioning. So the first one we're going to talk about is a brand stylescape, and actually that is a mood board ultimately of what your brand looks like. How that leads to a brand style guide, which I think you'd said you just built out, and that was where you were at, and your tone of voice. All of that is underpinned by your brand mission, vision, and values. And we haven't touched on that today, but that's where we get into a lot more detail around those core words. What do you stand for as a business? Once you've got those in place, you can easily produce, and I talked to a few people around using social media, social templates real quick and easy and cost-effective solutions to maintain your branding through what I would call tactics. So marketing tactics on social media, getting messages out there, positioning your 200% money back guarantee through action, using email templates. So a lot of this is focused on is cost-effective, quick solutions that maintain a consistent brand through some of the tactics that you then end up going on and delivering. From there, we'll have a quick conversation around personalizing your website. And then I've highlighted two things that I think are super important within a facility: uniform and signage. There's a million and one other things visually that represent your brand in a location, but we're going to talk around those two. So a stylescape is a mood board ultimately of your business. And I'm going to show you an example of one that we've built out for someone. Okay, so when you're starting up a business, or even if you're decorating your house, you've got all sorts of paint swabs and you've got kind of ideas, you've got all those types of things. This is your business version of that ultimately. Once you've got that, that connects to what we would call a style guide. A style guide is a much more detailed version where it goes, this is the font that we use. These are the colors that we use. These are the colors that we don't use. All about keeping that brand consistency all the way through your business. Okay, I'm going to share a couple of examples up on the screen. So this is a starting point for what we would call a stylescape. So it's a big map of all the different things that business could use and how it might be used. So here you've got a very basic idea of the logo, characters that this business uses, and the colors that they use. Okay, then you're starting to pop these into what it would look like on posters, on billboards, what it would look like if it was in video form. If I scroll down, what it looks like on business stationery, on presentation slide decks. These are all examples. There's no real content in there to start off with. It's just a visual representation of what we want the brand to look like. So when we're working with an organization, we go, does this represent what you want someone to feel when they visually connect with your brand? We talked around social. What are social templates? What could they look like? What does good look like when you're representing your brand visually? With this brand, they actually had sounds. These characters made sounds, so we made sure the brand had an audio connection as well, and that was consistent. What big posters and banners look like. And then I think the last thing is what it looks like in video form. So if we're doing videos, what kind of logos and identities do we have around the video that makes it yours, as opposed to just posting a video? And the last few things, examples of what bringing it to life in poster form or advertising form could look like. Okay, this isn't a fitness-based brand per se. This is an active brand for getting kids engaged with fitness challenges. And this was the brand that we built for them. But it was a good idea of seeing all of the different things that could be shared within a brand. So this big mind map, if I zoom out, that's effectively a very big stylescape. Everyone will have a slightly different version. Everyone will have slightly different needs. If you haven't got audio, you haven't got video, we wouldn't put those into a stylescape. But every brand should ideally have that in some form. Now, I've seen great ones that are just words and colors and, literally flip chart paper up on the wall. Something that gives you a consistency, okay? Once you've got that, the next piece that I talked around was turning that into a style guide, which is much more of a formalized document. So I'm going to share one of those. So this is a stylescape for a gym in Swansea that we've been working with. And we did a mood board for them, and then we gave them this. So they are doing some of their marketing in-house. So they wanted tools and guidelines that they could give to some of their team to go, this is what we do and what we don't do. So I'll flick through this in terms of what it is. But their logo, how it's used, they've got 2 locations, how it sits together. When do you use the different logos? What do they sit on other colors? So these are the parameters that you are allowing your brand to be used within. Their colors, exactly what colors they should be using, what they should use. In terms of primary, these are their primary colors, and then secondary accent colors. We built some textured gradients for them that just brought some of their text to life with something that sat behind it. So again, what they look like, how they are used, from the plain and simple through to the slightly more bold, depending on the messaging that they wanted to push out. Headings, text in terms of font types, how it's used, background textures, all these things that we're building up a brand for them. Image examples, this is their facility. These are the images that we wanted to use that showcased the vibrancy of their location, but also then how we stripped out images of individuals and put it within an icon for them. How that then looks in terms of marketing. So that's the basis, that's the example, and then that's how we bring it to life, where you've got the textures, you've got the colors, you've got the key wording, you've got the imagery. How that comes together and takes that, I think you were talking about it earlier, your brand guideline, and actually brings it into the messaging and the tactics that you're using to attract that ideal customer. It's going to resonate with them, but also make sure that everything you're doing goes back to a consistent look and feel. Tile templates for social media, story templates. We talked, I think Canva, you mentioned earlier when I was walking the room. We've given them these so that when they're posting stories, post them on here. Then it's consistent. It looks connected to brand in the same way that you'll have tiles and so on and so forth. And Canva is a brilliant tool for doing that. Sometimes it's just a case of making sure the right people have access to the right things. Because if they do, then your brand's going to be consistently delivered, regardless of who in your team is posting on social media. And then we've given some best practice guidelines in terms of how they would utilize different things. We've given kind of some best practice. So this gym particularly, they get 21% more engagement on Instagram at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. Knowing that means that we can help set some parameters around making them better, positioning their brand to more people. Again, bringing that life to people bring the brand to life at the right time to the right people. Again, best practices around hashtags, around messaging and using GIFs and so on and so forth. And then I think this other one was something that they were completely shocked by. 70% of their Facebook following are women. They'd never really looked at it. So their marketing, their branding can start to be tailored towards some of those key bits of information. So I showed a stylescape, and then this is drilling down into the detail of how you can bring that stylescape into practical implementation within your marketing that you are delivering. Okay? Everyone happy with that? Any questions on stylescape versus style guides? And anyone got one? You've just created one, which I know you mentioned. Anyone not got one? Anyone think they now might need one, or at least start to create one? Yeah, really important if you want that consistency, particularly if you've got a lot of people involved in the building of your brand, because it just helps set those guidelines. Because as the business owner or the brand owner, that consistency is really important. Because if we go back to the real beginning where we talked around core words, everything you post on social, everything that you post online, posters, imagery, etc., has got to connect back to, someone's got to think of those words. Okay? Tone of voice is really important. We're going to breeze through these last kind of few pieces. What is your tone of voice? How do you talk? Is it representative of the business owner, or is it something that's slightly more professional or fun or jovial? Example I've used is with Innocent. I don't know if anyone follows Innocent Smoothies on social. They have a really playful tone of voice, but it's consistent from the TV adverts all the way through to how they post on Twitter. So again, we're looking at that consistency. That is their brand tone of voice. And you will never see them post something that doesn't really have that playful, kind of almost tongue-in-cheek level to it. And again, at some stage when we go through the bigger workshops, we start to dig into what is your tone of voice? Or is it different because you're posting something on social one day and then you're posting it on the other day, and actually how you speak, the words you use are very different. So we've kind of talked around what I would say is the foundations, and we talked earlier around them being underpinned by your brand, vision, values. We've looked at how they can implement consistency across social media and email templates, marketing templates, etc., etc. That then also helps you with your website. So you take all of that styling, you take all of that consistency, and you make sure your website is representative of it. And one little thing that I would recommend anyone that is trying to be different, stand out, don't use stock imagery on your website. It doesn't take a lot, it doesn't cost a lot to have photos of your business, people in your facility using your equipment. It's a few £100 to get someone to come and take photos. You could even get great photos off your iPhone these days. Don't use the standard off-the-shelf, American-based, typically, stock images that so many people are using, okay? And the final two pieces, we take all of that online stuff and we look at how you are represented offline, okay? Again, I've seen people taking photos, more than welcome to send you the whole deck afterwards. Just drop me your email address. I did say it at the beginning, so no problem with that. Is your uniform consistent? I have a real OCD with uniform, and I brought this up. So I'm going to show this photo. Is that good or bad for you and your brand? If you had your staff looking like that, hands up if you go, it's all right, I'm happy with that. No one, or one person. Okay? So it's all right. So everyone's got a brand kind of level in terms of where they're pitching it. You said no.
I like it, but the girls are wearing something to Lloyd's. Yeah. So I would like it all the same as mine.
Okay.
That's why I like it. Because it shows we're individuals.
Okay.
It shows that we treat people as individuals.
So, and that could simply be the difference between your USP or your brand versus yours. There is no right or wrong to that, necessarily. I think the fact they've all wearing the same top is lovely. I have a bit of an OCD of coloured trainers versus white trainers versus black trainers. That's just me. And sometimes some businesses don't have the ability to dictate what that is, or they don't have the cost to cover putting people in all black or whatever that might be. My slight OCD then struggles with two types of tracksuit bottoms, 3/4 length leggings, full length leggings, and a random pair of shorts with some under leggings.
Can I also add to what I like? We're all, every one of us in this room, struggling on recruitment.
Yeah.
If you start dictating to people of certain body types, you have to wear the same leggings or the same shorts, people are not going to work.
Yeah.
Certainly not going to stand. So some of this stuff is a bit reactive to the current situation.
Completely agree.
With that, you could still dictate more black.
Yeah.
But there you've got someone with white patterns, someone with red, so you're mixing those colours with black. What I'm saying to my teams is, I'm going to give you the top half, you do whatever you want bottom half, but it's plain black. And then you can have the people, I feel comfortable in these shorts, or I feel comfortable in these leggings, so they all look black.
Yeah. And I was talking to a sports coaching company literally a couple of days ago who said, we can only afford to keep the top half out, exactly as you did, but it's all black. Black shorts, leggings, or tracksuit bottoms, whatever you want. No Adidas stripes down the side, just black. If it's got a small logo, we can handle that, and black trainers. That was all. And again, it comes down to going right back to the beginning, your branding. What's the guideline? What does good look like in your view? And everyone's opinion is going to be connected to your brand. So I knew that photo would throw up some, because for some people it looks great, some people it doesn't, some people it's perfect, some people it's not. That's branding. Branding is unique to the business. It's unique to the people that have built that brand and are then maintaining that brand. Signage, these ones are pictures, one of which I've taken, one of which I got online. You can guess maybe which one was one I took. Everything you do down to the minute detail in the site, reflects on your brand. We talked very early at the real beginning around Jeff Bezos saying, it's the things that people say behind your back. That's a talking point down the pub. That's a photo that someone's taken and put it all over social media. One of them was all over social media around what they saw on the site. That's now how they are perceiving your brand. I'm not saying any of your facilities have anything like that. One of those was a health club, mind. But this isn't the perfect example. But this is an example of a Disney sign when it's out of order. It uses their font type. It uses one of their characters. It's a little bit jovial, but that's their brand. Okay, what's your version of that? So instead of that, have you got, and I've seen so many that goes, oh, the printer's not working, I've had to scribble something. Fine. As a brand owner, have a whole folder of different things that might be needed at certain stages that doesn't take very long. An out of order sign, you know, there are some great ones in terms of vending machine out of stock. You know, you guys have been so hungry, we're refueling soon. You know, the terminology you use goes back to tone of voice. You can even be jovial and funny within some of these kind of messages around broken. The number of things I've seen out of order. Can we be a bit better than out of order on a treadmill? We probably can, but that goes back to what's your tone of voice. If you're fun, jovial and playful, and they're key words that resonate with your brand, how do you make sure your out of order sign is playful, jovial and fun?
I saw it in a gym I went to, and the treadmill was broken, the sign was having a resonate.
Yeah, simple things, you know. So what we're trying to do, and as I kind of close out now because I'm hitting my time, is all the way through the foundations, from your mission, vision, values at the bottom through to really understanding your brand. What are you? Who are you? What do you look like? How you start to use that within some of the tactics that you are delivering via online and then offline. All of those things are intrinsically connected. And I haven't got the slide, which is, and I've used it a lot, the Jeff Bezos quote, but all of those things will help someone that when you're sat in the pub talking about the experience you had at the health club that you went to, is all down to that journey that is really driven by brand. And going back right to the beginning of the workshop where we talked about the difference between brand and marketing, although they're intrinsically connected, marketing is nothing without branding. And actually, to an extent, branding isn't effective unless you've got marketing that helps connect the dots as well. We are doing, later on in the year, 2 workshops, which is going into a lot more detail of this, much more workshop based. I've tried to make it as interactive as I can over the course of the last kind of 45 minutes. But I've got a card, grab my email address. If anyone wants a copy of the presentation, happy to share that with you guys. If you want information on coming to a bit more of a detailed workshop, you want to speak to Ryan or myself on anything, we're over at the stand over in the far corner. I'm going to hang around for a bit. But thank you. Hopefully it was helpful. Hopefully you've got some golden nuggets that you can take back, some things that you are going to, you know, review internally within your business. But any questions before we close? Yes.
I've got a statement and a question.
Go on.
First statement, ever since you've talked about stylescape, your images have been quite conditioned to people.
Yep.
Which is quite interesting when we start looking at diversity and inclusion.
Yep.
The second one is, how do you build non-user insight into building your brand?
How do you build non-user insight into your brand? Okay.
At the moment, we're all competing for the same 15 to 20% of the book.
Yeah.
So if you're building a brand, how do you build it to reflect the 80% target?
I think you've got to work out what, again, going back to what your ideal customer is. Because some people are targeting the 15% because they know they're easier to attract. And some people are attracting the others that aren't. You know, so it's working out, if you're targeting the 18 to 24s that aren't exercising at the moment, then that's your target market, and then we work out where do we find them. And there's a lot of online insight that we can use to try and target those people. And on social, we can target specifically those age groups with certain likes. So using Facebook ad campaigns, for example, we can go, I want this audience based in this geographic territory that has this type of like. Going back to what we talked about, are they a Gymshark follower? Do they shop in Marks and Spencer's? Whatever it might be, we can create audiences connected to other things that they might like. So going back to your perfect customer, once you've defined that, typically using tools on social media and and online, we can find where they are, and then we can target them in a slightly more specific way, as opposed to what I would say blanket marketing campaigns that are not targeted in any way, shape or form. Ryan's going to jump in because he does a lot of work in this area.
Yeah, I'll just add to that. So I think it's really important, particularly when we're talking about branding, that it's overarching, and some of that goes specifically to marketing tactics, looking at segments, audiences, but brands which are more overarching. So you don't necessarily have to niche down to focus on those individual segments. The second piece is I think that what was your question around insights? So yeah, if you don't have those insights available, a lot of you already have audiences, people engaging with you, communities that already exist. One of the best things that I recommend to brands early on is look at what the audience is saying, what they're speaking to each other about, and you'll get those keywords, those phrases directly from them. You take those phrases and you repurpose it into your marketing, into your branding. It's already there for you. They've done half the work.
Thank you. Yes.
As starting out, right? Do we look at online marketing or offline marketing? Which one you reckon would give us the best return?
Okay, so the question for those who didn't hear, what should I focus on, online marketing or offline marketing first? My view is a blended approach, but it does go back to who are you trying to target, and going back to where that audience is, where do you find them? And for me, that blended approach, that balance of online and offline is key, but knowing who the audience is first and where they hang out was the piece that we did earlier, is key to making that decision. For me, what I would call old school marketing for certain facilities is perfect, particularly geographically small locations, because there's so many touch points in community centres, village halls, libraries, and so on, so community centres. That works, still has a place. But then digitally, you can still select and down that as well. Okay, I know Ryan's going to throw another point in.
Some trends that we're seeing that's quite interesting at the minute is a lot of people have moved on to digital for reasons. Obviously, it's a big market out there. There's a lot of ways that you can attract customers. But because of that shift into digital, actually a lot of people are missing your signage, your outdoor advertising, your media. And we're seeing people that start going back out to events, to venues, football increasing in those areas. So I think our advice would be a blended omnichannel approach. But where that's not possible, if you're a small startup or you haven't got the funds available, then it's really about looking at where, as a start, you're best bang for the buck.
Yeah, and I think just to add to that as well, online is so competitive now that actually those that are going back to a bit more on the offline are seeing more results because it's less competitive in the offline space.
And also, if anyone tells you you can't measure offline marketing,
Okay, I'm just gone over time. Thank you for persisting. I know you've got the next session, but really appreciate it. I will hang around. I know Ryan will too. If anyone's got any individual questions, please let me know. If you want the presentation deck, email me or drop me your business card now and I'll send it across to you. But thank you very much. Enjoy the rest of your day.